Oh, Miss Molino's on that.
All right, I would like to call the agriculture meeting to order. Today is Wednesday, December 18th. My name is Leslie Juby, and I have very large shoes to fill from our former ag chair. So may I have a roll call, please?
Allen. Leonard.
Leonard here.
Penesis.
Hennis is here.
Sanchez.
Sanchez present.
Williams.
Williams here.
Roth.
Roth is here.
Juby.
Juby here.
Everyone is here.
We need no remote attendance requests. May I have a motion to, oh, actually unanimous consent is what everyone likes.
Williams
for the-
will ask for unanimous consent of the minutes dated November 21st, 2024.
Any objections? All right. Accepted. We move to number 5 for public comment. I have David Canton here to speak for us. You have 3 minutes, but take your time. We'll let you know. You have to just kind of, if we can hear you.
There we go. Yep. The November 18th edition of Farm Week reported that the 2024 Ag Lender Survey showed that only 58% of ag borrowers are projected to remain profitable this year. At the December 3rd through 5th Peoria Farm Show, attendees took advantage of inquiring about alternative off-farm jobs to supplement farm income because ag margins are so tight. Just yesterday, it was reported on CBS News that the USDA has reported a 35% decline in dairy since 2017. And continued demise of the ag industry continues. If continued demise of the ag industry continues, we will be buying beef from Brazil and wheat from Russia. When we become dependent on foreign entities for our food, we will be the mercy of foreign governments. This will become a national security crisis. To prevent this scenario, government regulation should be encouraging and supporting ag business as opposed to driving it into extinction. Currently, ag structures are exempt from building codes in place for other structures. This exemption makes perfect sense. Ag structures do not pose the same safety and structural impact on the community and citizens as other structures. However, the Stormwater Management Ordinance does not follow this precedent. In fact, the ordinance is biased against ag business and should be amended to support rather than deter the ag industry. Let me share my experience. I purchased a 16-acre farm in 2023 within Kane County. The property and surrounding property have been used for small agricultural operations by several families. We anticipated continuing this practice and expanding the operations and profitability by adding an additional building for the agricultural operation. Several contractors, the real estate agent, and myself felt this would be a relatively straightforward process as we currently have water runoff into a detention pond. Upon initial permitting, we found that we needed stormwater runoff permitting too. At that point, we were told that since our ponds do not have an outfall, they don't meet the requirement for a pond. I was then informed that since we currently have more than 25,000 square feet of impervious surface on the parcel, we would need to install a pond in the back of our property, run a pipe towards the front of the property, and then drill a pipe underground across 2 parcels to an outflow, water outflow point. Investigation of this requirement led to an estimate cost of greater than $100,000. For a large corporation building a warehouse or urban subdivision, this would be minimal expense, but for a small family ag business, this is financially untenable. In an attempt to be helpful, staff informed us that we could replace some of our gravel driveway, which is considered impervious space, with a structure that would be pervious. Our optimism in finding an alternative solution was dampened when we investigated the cost of this option. Thank you. Installation of the required impervious space with the suggested material was going to exceed $85,000 in cost, not counting removal and disposal of the current driveway material. No doubt the entire cost of this proposal would exceed $100,000. We're now stalled in our business efforts to build our small family business to an operation that is viable and sustainable. In reviewing the Stormwater Management Ordinance, it states that the principal purpose is to promote equitable stormwater management measures by establishing reasonable rules and regulations for development. With respect to small family ag businesses, imposing a requirement that exceeds $100,000 is unreasonable. This is in light of reduced earnings in agriculture as previously noted. The ordinance is written to address the impact of large housing developments or warehouse developments. These projects have the margins to support the cost of expensive mitigation. Furthermore, the ordinance states the purpose is managing and mitigating the effects of urbanization. When looking at the impact of a 14,000 square foot building on the surrounding 15 acres of pasture land, there's no relationship to the impact of a 100-unit residential development and infrastructure on surrounding communities, or the impact of a 500,000 square foot warehouse on surrounding communities. This disconnect is a classic example that one size does not fit all. The ordinance bias advances urbanization by impeding the profitability of agricultural businesses, driving the small family ag business to try to hold on until ultimately they're able to sell out to developers. In contrast to the stated purpose of the ordinance to manage the effects of urbanization, the application of the ordinance is advancing urbanization and thereby increasing urbanization. Those effects will go well beyond wastewater management. As noted, the intent of the ordinance is to address urbanization. By definition, urbanization is making an area more urban. Urban, by definition, is a characteristic of a town or city. Agriculture products advance agriculture, not cities. Therefore, agriculture projects prevent and move away from urbanization. Promoting ag business profitability through business development is the best way to prevent and stem urbanization. To further demonstrate the bias of the ordinance, one only has to look at the fee in lieu option. It's possible to pay the county the cost of the mitigation in lieu of actually performing the mitigation. The county is not required to use the fee to address this supposed impact of the project, but can use the monies to address issues elsewhere in the county. This further demonstrates the impact of the project is not of major concern that requires major financial hardship on the small ag business. Instead, this results in a direct effort to tax the small family ag business out of existence. In conclusion, the current stormwater ordinance is biased against agricultural business and in conflict with the stated purpose. This bias leads to agricultural businesses only recourse in being profitable is to sell the property to big developers. We witness this every day as we witness the expansion of warehouses and housing developments across the county. The result is the advancement of urbanization and its follow-on effect in contrast to the purpose of the ordinance. To correct this bias, the ordinance should be amended to allow exemptions or alternative pathways for agriculture in line with the general permitting processes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Canton. Mr. Van Kerkhoff will follow up offline with you. And
Yep.
I appreciate you guys coming forward and congratulations on your new property.
Thank you.
And good luck in the spring with the babies. Okay. Moving on to our partners. I don't know who comes first. I don't.
King County Farm Bureau.
Okay, King County Farm Bureau.
I'm Bill Collins. I'm a director in the Farm Bureau, and this is Carl Kettlecamp, also a director. And we just wanted to come because Mike used to be here and bring back the information from the Ag Committee to our meetings, and he's no longer on the he's no longer on the Farm Bureau board either. He's on the foundation, King County Foundation Farm Bureau board, but not on the actual board. So that's why in the future here, Steve and Joe couldn't make it today. Usually one of them will come, and we're as directors, we're going to try to rotate in each meeting so you guys can get a feel for the other directors that are with the Farm Bureau. Not only do I wear the hat of the Farm Bureau, I am the treasurer of the King County 4-H Foundation. And the King County Farm Bureau works well with the U of I and the King County 4-H Foundation, or the 4-H Foundation, Master Gardeners, and all those related to the U of I. So I kind of wear two hats there. Just kind of give you a little background on me. But to go forward here, we've set some different goals for this summer, or this spring actually. And one is the shopping spree, which we partner with Northern Illinois Food Bank, which I believe Steve's going to reach out to some people on the county committee to be involved with that spree, this shopping spree this February. The other one we're doing again is the Touch a Tractor. And in the past, we've done a meet and greet on the 15th the Saturday. And it's the same day as the 4-H pork chop dinner, where we have a pork chop dinner, a silent auction, and a live auction. And what we do is we bring the local Illinois legislators and the County Farm Bureau are invited to the Touch a Tractor for a meet and greet. And then we take you over to the fairgrounds, which is right next door, to enjoy the pork chop dinner. What else do we have here? The other thing that we're trying to promote and want to promote even bigger with the 4-H clubs this year is the Government Day that they put on. The Farm Bureau backs the Government Day, really enjoys what you guys do with Government Day. And not only does the Farm Bureau support the 4-H program in Kane County, but they support the FFA programs that are in Kane County. We've had some discussion about how to get together with the county board. We're kicking around like a meeting where you would bring a couple topics and we bring a couple topics, and our board and your board would meet together and just kind of have an event. So more of a mixer, if you will, than an actual meeting. So that's one. And the other one was doing a bus tour of some of the farms this summer with the county board. And the only other thing that came up was getting more information about the grants and programs that are available through the county that we can pass on to our membership. So there, I know, the Growing for Kane is a great program, but I believe there's other grants and things that our membership and farmers can apply for that we're unaware of. Do you have anything else, Carl?
Yeah, I wanted to thank you for recognizing Mike Kenyon's years of service to the county board. Mike and I think all of you know is a people person. He brings people together. He's able to get varying opinions and get people to collaborate and get things done. Just a very no-nonsense, pragmatic approach from Mike. So appreciate you recognizing Mike for the years of service. And just wanted to say you would see, as some people know, Steve Arnold is our manager and Joe White is our president. Joe White farms in Caneville. I just retired from 26 years of farming and have turned that farming operation over to my son and son-in-law, working with them as much as they allow me to do. But I continue to advocate for agriculture. But I also wanted to highlight that my wife's, the family farm is my wife's family farm. Last name is Werdine. This was one of the first farms that was accepted into the farm preservation program. We now have 300 acres as part of the farm preservation program. Those acres cannot be used, cannot be sold or used for development purposes. Furthermore, we do have 3 natural gas pipelines that come through the farm. Most recently, an oil line was installed, and there will be another 36-inch large natural gas pipeline installed beginning in 2026. The fact that those are there prevents that land from being developed on, but I think it's hugely important that the rest of the farm, just on the west side of Kane County, is a open space that'll be used. Also, to continue to contribute to our tax rolls. Certainly very happy with the forest preserves and everything Kane County has done to preserve ground for public use. But it's also important to preserve our farm ground, our farm economy in this western and southwestern part of the county. And we're kind of on that leading edge of what could be a beginning of development on the west side of Caneville. But you're looking at farmland all around. It's a beautiful sight to see. I'm very blessed to be on the farm and be able to open up my door, look out the window and see that open space. But it's open space that's contributing greatly to our economy in Kane County. And also we continue to provide taxes as needed for everything that the county requires from a monetary standpoint. So just that's what I wanted to talk about, and I'm happy to be here. I'm now teaching welding at the Fox Valley Career Center. I may not be able to attend other than summer times, but very happy to be here.
The only other thing I have is I brought a list of the state legislative priorities for this year that were approved at the annual meeting just a couple weeks ago. And I can just pass those out. And I did bring a couple of copies of the Kane County Farmer if somebody wants one.
Great, thank you. So congratulations on being the first farm in the farmland preservation, and woohoo for Fox Valley Career Center, my favorite place in the world. Touch a Tractor is a huge event, and I know that Mike, I just feel like there's just so much not here with him not being here. And I apologize because we no longer have a farmer on the county board, which makes me sad. However, if you come forward and you need another spot on the agenda in addition to Steve, that would be great. I think that the board, maybe would you guys be interested in being part of a kind of meet and greet thing to kind of, that would be great. If you want to go offline, we can talk about that. The 4-H pork chop dinner is highly recommended for all of you who've not done that before.
And it's a
And
good deal too.
It is a good deal, and it's for the kids, so that's, really what's important. And in terms of working so that you can bring information back, I know it's a big loss that we're not able to do that, but if there's any way we can help or anything you need, I'm happy to volunteer Mark for that. So that we can maybe get you to where you have the information that you need to disseminate through the farming
Yeah, and
community.
the other reason for us coming is because Mike was such a avenue for us. We don't want to lose that connection. And we have such a great rapport with the county board. We want to continue that.
Well, you're welcome anytime. Does anyone have any questions or comments or anything? Anita,
Yeah, I just-
sorry, Ms. Lewis. I'm sorry, I'm on
Anita's
this side
fine.
now. I
That is my
forgot.
name. I just wanted to let you guys know that we just launched the Kane County Economic Development Organization. And one of our 3 founding board members is a farmer, Steve Pitstick.
Mhm.
Because we understand that agriculture, our county is half agriculture, and any economic development needs to have that taken into account too. So hopefully you will get some input from you as we move down the road a little bit.
Yeah, Steve Pitzik is a former board president.
I went to school with him.
All right, thank you. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Mark for our other partners.
Sure, yeah. So Kane County's rich history in support of agriculture has for many, many decades depended on the partnerships that the county board and staff have with the Farm Bureau. One of our other significant partners is the Northern Illinois Food Bank. They have traditionally been part of the meeting, giving updates. They are invited. Matt typically works with them on that. As of late, because of their staffing and busy schedules, they haven't been available to attend the meeting. Sometimes they do so remotely. That's one of the nice outcomes from time to time. But I do just want to note, since they're not here this morning, just the amazing work that they do, not just in Kane County, but in the 30-some counties that they serve in the Midwest. And some of you may track, they have mobile food pantry units now that move around the counties. They supply our local food pantries. They're just an amazing resource, and we're very blessed that they're located right here in Geneva, servicing this huge area. So we'll continue to work with them, and if they're not able to make every meeting, maybe at strategic points, have them come and give more of an update on their work. But they're an important part of our efforts to connect our farming and our local growing and local foods with our urban population. So.
Thank you. Any questions about food bank? Nope. Okay, so let's move on to our farmland protection program overview. Ms. Castro, would you like to take over?
I'm gonna.
No,
if I could-
no, you're not. Sorry.
Well, she is. Do you mind if I make a couple introductions first? Sure, thank you. So just a couple comments. So I'm Mark Van Kerkhoff, Director of Development and Community Services. I have the privilege and honor to lead a whole team of folks up on the 4th floor. You're welcome to come up and visit us anytime. We do have security up there, so they can buzz you in, but you're welcome anytime to visit us. So we do building, zoning, property code enforcement. The team that's here reflects part of our planning team, particularly those that specialize working with agricultural programs. Matt Tansley, who's been with us over 10 years, he'll give a presentation on his areas of focus. Sarah Castro, who just joined us early this year, working with the Farmland Preservation Program, and then Catherine McKenna, who is our new map whiz, working with us. So I'll let them go through what they're going to go through. I did just want to mention, first of all, I want to welcome the new board members to the county board, and thank you for coming to the committee here. If you're not aware, Kane County, I believe, is still the only county in Illinois that has a county board committee dedicated just to agriculture, which is kind of amazing when you consider the agricultural significance in the state of Illinois. But I think it reflects Kane County Board's longstanding commitment to working with agriculture. And I think it was a brilliant move to create its own committee. So for years, we were adding agriculture at the end of development committee meetings. And as the now development committee chair Williams knows, those meetings can get long, especially if we have a lot of zoning petitions. And then we were left, everyone's trying to leave for lunch and we're trying to squeeze in a few snippets about what we're doing with agriculture. So as a team, we're very grateful that there's this opportunity to not only invite our partners and special speakers, but work more closely with the board on the programs. And it has been an exciting year of things to work on. The other thing I'll just note is new to all the committee agendas this month, you may have noticed our committee goals that the committee's worked on this past year. So on here, the ones the Agricultural Committee worked on. And I'm just going to know a couple of bullet points I had added to those for number 4, but continuing partnerships with the Farm Bureau, Northern Illinois Food Bank, implement our current grant funded projects, of which there's a lot to do. We'll continue to apply for outside grants. That's one of the areas where we continue to build upon the successes of our previous and current grants, helps open that door to additional grant funds to support the work. Implement economic development projects for agriculture. We have our ARPA grant funds going. And then we also have the opportunity to work on other projects identified in Kane County's first economic development strategic plan. As Board Member Lewis noted the Economic Development Corporation for Kane County is just up and running. I'm sure their focus will be on business retention and business development. I think there's still a very important role for our staff and team in this committee to work on economic development issues and studies, whether it be for our local producers or whatever, that have been identified, and continue to work on those programs specifically. So, and with that, I will turn it over to Matt Tansley. He'll kick off the presentations. Oh, no, Sarah Castro, sorry.
Hi, good morning, everyone, and welcome new board members, and congratulations on your new position as well. We're excited to have you all here. I'm excited to be able to present. Just to echo a little bit of what Mark said, I'm coming up on my 1 year in January, and when I first was looking for a job and I came across this one in particular, I was very shocked to know that there was something in farming all the way out this way. So you guys definitely do have a very unique county that, has a really great balance of urban and rural. And I've lived in a lot of places. So I am very proud to be here. I'm glad that this is finally my permanent home. But with that, I'll go ahead and just give you a little bit of an update of what's been going on with me over the 1 year. All right, so as you know, the ordinance 01-67 was adopted in April 10 of 2001. The adoption and implementation of the Kane County Agriculture Conservation Easement and Farmland Protection Program was established to maintain and preserve the natural beauty of Kane County. It wanted to protect viable farm operations and farmland to maintain the rural character of Kane County. It also included wetlands, lakes, streams, woodlots, open spaces. But what I really wanted to emphasize on the ordinance is you guys also wanted to maintain or enhance the air or water quality of Kane County. So within the 23 years of the program, we have been able to protect 6,000 acres, which are the ones that you will see in brown. Those are the existing easements. And then 1,000 acres that are still in process. These easements that are in process have been approved by the board. We're just waiting on a couple things, whether it be an appraisal, a survey, but hopefully we'll be able to close on these soon. As you will note, the program has become very popular within the 23 years. This is just a map showing of people who have come to me and have expressed interest in the program. Perhaps they have turned in an application, they're waiting to go through the whole process, or they have been approved but waiting on funding. Within this year, we've been able to touch over 100 individuals through outreach activities. I was able to visit 21 farms. Within those 21 farms, there were about 1,000 acres engaged. And I was also able to do outreach activities to historically underserved. 2 of those were beginning farmers and 2 of those were in the socially disadvantaged groups. Within the 23 years of this program, we have had some lessons learned, best practices. So coming in 2025, unfortunately, there might be a second extension of the 28 Farm Bill program. But while it's getting approved, we know that there's some main goals that they're trying to reach for the new Farm Bill. So within that time, we are going to be reviewing the impacts of all the easements that are now protected from the program. And we will also be revamping the program to fit in the new Farm Bill goals. As we heard today, you know, there's a lot of outdated practices maybe, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what more we can do here for Kane County. That's it. Before I pass it over to Catherine, are there any questions?
Mr. Leonard?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sarah, I have one question well, it's kind of a multi-part question. Number one, could you explain to me what farmers have to do to apply to get into this farmland protection program? And then also, what percentage of farms in Kane County are involved in this program?
Sure. So it's a 2 process. The first process is that they have to come and apply and go through our Farmland Commission, Ag, the other 2 committees. So that's our Kane County process. After it gets approved, because we do use matching funds with the federal, they need to be ranked for the program. Fortunately, Kane County is the only government entity in the entire state of Illinois that can provide those matching funds. So the likelihood of it getting selected is very high. So once it gets selected, they have 2 phases. The first phase is they have to do the application of the federal. We have to get all the documents if they're in an entity, deeds, showing maps of where the easement boundary is going to be placed. And then the second phase, that's where we do the appraisal, the survey, and the closing costs. So typically, in a perfect world, it's a 2-year process. However, because the federal program is so cumbersome sometimes, our contractors sometimes have difficulties trying to follow those rules and regulations, so they do come back with mistakes that we have to fix and so on. So perfect world, it should be 2 years. It hasn't happened yet, but hopefully now that we're getting more used to it, they'll start getting closed sooner. For your second question, I'm not sure with that one. Maybe Catherine would be able to answer that question as she works more with our numbers in Kane County.
Yeah, I don't have that a percentage off the top of my head, but that's definitely something that can be calculated.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it might be. I'll just add, it might be a little bit tricky to calculate because farms are organized in so many different ways between family trusts and individual or properties that maybe they own with their kids or whatever. So the percentage of, but acreage, is a great way to measure. We have the ability to measure those acres versus those that are assessed farmland, and that's something we can definitely provide.
Thank you.
Mr. Sanchez?
Yeah, my question was on, my question was on the outreach for this program. You said there are 4 farms that were underserved historically. What does that mean? And then what does the outreach look like?
Sure. So these are just definitions that the federal uses. Historically underserved can be socially disadvantaged, beginning farmer, veteran farmer. And a beginning farmer, it has to be 10 years or less that you've been operating. And for socially advantaged, they identify that as an individual or entity who is a member of a socially disadvantaged group, which is a group whose members have been subject to racial or ethnic prejudice because of their identity as members of the group. And the way that I have been able to reach these historically underserved is really just coming, one, to other committee meetings where I know that there's going to be a farmer, such as, I don't know if you guys recall, but I believe it was La Muñeca Ranch. He's considered socially disadvantaged, so just coming and doing that. Not only that, just going through our database and clicking around to see what farmers could be potentially in that category. The majority have been them coming to us as well, just because of the program being very popular.
Thank you.
Mr. Penesis?
That was the question I was going to ask, but I do have another question. I'm a newbie, obviously, on the board. The funding comes through the Farm Bill, through the federal funds. Where does the funding come for this program?
So part of it is through the Riverboat grant. And then the federal, they have programs specifically for easements. So yeah, some of the Farm Bill budget does go into those programs. So they have the agricultural land easement program. And they have so much money set aside, and they do a 50-50 match.
Mr. Roth?
Roth here. Do we have a goal, like, you're saying it's a 2-year process, but on an annual basis, how many acres we were, I think, and the limiting factor is our matching, right? I mean, that's going to limit because we have to match. So we're using the riverboat and whatever else we stumble across. So there's going to be a limit, but we've been doing this now, what, for 20+ years? And, and like you said, you're learning the process, which will hopefully help get through that, maybe shrink that 2-year cycle in a perfect world, but we know that isn't it.
Yeah, I mean, the goal is to protect all.
Right, exactly. And then the other part of that, we have 6,000 acres. What % of the overall farmland is that in Kane County?
Again, that might be a question
Right,
for.
and we don't need to know it now,
For
but
Catherine, but just within our 2040 plan, we did mention that we tried to save 50%, and that includes open land.
right.
So I believe the last time we checked, we might be right at 50 right now.
Okay,
Mr. Leonard?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
thank you.
One point I'd just like to make a little promotion or advertisement for the Riverboat funds. That is one of the very few funds that we review every year that does get matching funds. So for every dollar we contribute, we get $1 from the federal government. So it's very important that we continue to do that. Ms. Allen has been the leader in that initiative for at least the last 10 years that I've been on the board. So it's very important to me that we continue to give the maximum amount we can to farmland preservation.
Mr. Williams?
I mean, it seems to me like we have a lot more interest than we have funding for this project. And it would be nice if we could find a way to expand our funding source because, you know, that's obviously a limited supply, but, you know, it's an important project, I think.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt the floor. Would like to make, I had a question about, and I was thinking, and this has to do with fundraising. Janice Hill, unbelievable ability at grant writing and finding those funds almost out of thin air. Is she still working with you then on doing that, or is that something she's stepped away from?
Yeah, so thank you for bringing up Janice. She's launched this program and a huge part of its success. She has retired from work with Kane County, but she is currently working as part of a consultant team for us. So what you see here this morning is our current staff team is retained as employees by the county. But we also have a network of consultants, including Janice Hill, continuing to work. And that's primarily, you know, one of the things she wanted to focus on moving out was to be able to even expand that exploration on funding some of the things that we can't necessarily do as county employees. So we're continuing to look at how to increase that because that is, you know, continues to be the bottleneck, even though we're not competing for it now. But there's some exciting things happening. And maybe that's one of the things we can do a more specific update in the next couple of meetings is what that sort of funding mechanism and horizon looks like. So thank you.
Sanchez?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, and just looking at the brief page that we have on our website, it does talk about the amount of money invested, but not the acreage that we have. So I think that would be something good to put on there. So if people do stumble across that page, or we can refer them and say, yeah, this is how much we have as of, 2024. Yeah.
Any more questions before we move on? This was great, you guys. Everybody participated, Mrs. Allen.
She's been advocating for this program for years, so she's put her time in.
Okay.
And she brought muffins.
And she brought muffins.
Sounds like I've got some important math to do, so made note of that. I'm Catherine McKenna. I'm the planner and GIS specialist for the development department. So I help make maps for whatever types of programming we have going on, or if we need to tell a story about something going on in the county. So I've included some of my agricultural related maps here, just to give you an idea of what I can do, or if anyone has ideas, I'm open to hearing about those too. Just a good way to keep everyone informed about what's going on spatially here. You saw this map already. This is the Farmland Protection Program properties. You've probably seen this 100 times, but just wanted to include this. I work on maintaining this and keeping it up to date with what properties have actually gone through the process of and have been confirmed, or what's still in process. Here are two examples of maps that I did relating to the Farmland Protection Program properties and flood risk. One of our consultants was interested in having this data. So the map on the left has the properties compared to the FEMA flood zones, flood zone A and flood zone AE. And if you are interested in learning more information about the different flood zones, those are all that's all very available on the FEMA website. And then on the right is also a map of flooding and with the properties compared to flood inundation. So that is how deep, how deep the flooding can go if that area does flood. And then I'm sure you're familiar with the Food and Farm Resiliency Grant Program, and Matt's going to touch on that later, but this is a map of the farms that were awarded money from there. So you can see that it was distributed across the county well. And the map on the right, which I think some of you might find interesting, is the ag assessed parcels in the county, and the green parcels are, so the USDA has an urban and rural boundary. So the red line shows where the USDA has designated the urban versus rural area. So the green are outside of the urban area and the blue are within the urban area, and shows how agricultural land is distributed. And then the map on the left is one that I made for a food tour, throughout the county through World Business Chicago. This was in the spring or summer, and just to indicate how there's a like green crescent of agriculture in the Chicago region, and how Kane County has a lot of that land, that agricultural land within it. So how can we best be stewards of that land? And then on the right is a map for the Paul Bruin Historic Revitalization Grants Program. The orange is also working with the USDA rural/urban corridor that they've indicated. So the orange areas are urban, so historic properties that are within the orange are not eligible for the program, but if it's outside of the orange, they are eligible to apply to receive this grant money. I think that's all I have. Yeah, so open to any questions that you might have. Again, this is just a small sampling of what I have done and can work on.
Any questions? No? Oh, thank you. All right. We're up to Mr. Tansley. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Again, Matt Tansley. I'm a member of the planning team working with Mark and everybody in development and community services. Today, I thought it would be worthwhile to go back in time a little bit and revisit the origins of the Growing for Kane program. So this was an effort that was undertaken by the county back in 2013. And it really started out of an interest in looking first at the Farmland Protection Program and asking this question about it and trying to determine how could the program be modified in such a way so as to support local food production and help connect local food production and connections with the communities of Kane County. And so in 2013, the county undertook this effort and received funding and support from an organization called Health Impact Partners. This is an effort that was funded by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation and the Pew Charitable Trusts. And essentially what it does is it supports organizations and communities that conduct health impact assessments. So these are basically studies to look at what are the health-related effects of a program, a new program or a policy change. And so we did this study looking initially at the Farmland Protection Program. The study did produce some really important findings. And one of those was that the availability of local produce, locally grown foods, is directly related to people's willingness to consume it. So that's really an important conclusion that was drawn and has really driven a lot of the work and recommendations that came out of the Growing for Kane program. And so it produced, as you'll see, a series of recommendations. This was a report card that I put together a couple of years ago, just looking at some of the recommendations that were generated by the Growing for Kane Health Impact Assessment. And these have really driven a lot of the project-based work that we've done through the department with our planning team and with partners like the Farm Bureau and the Northern Illinois Food Bank. One of the top conclusions that was that there should be a separate ordinance passed that's independent from the Farmland Protection Program, just because this is such a critical topic, and there should be a program that is specific to local food access and the mechanisms needed to support that. One of the other activities that was concluded was we did complete a food hub feasibility study, as many of you know, back in 2016. Did provide a lot of useful information about the local food market, as well as many of the challenges that exist in bringing local foods to the marketplace. And one of the other key policies is that basically any program benefit through the Growing for Cane program be available to farms of any size. So that's something we wanted to make clear through this program, is that, whether you're, a 1 acre urban farm or you're a larger 100+ acre farm in the western part of the county, if you're growing food, we're going to make program resources available through this program for your operations. So the policies do overlap a little bit with the recommendations, but I did just want to touch on these quickly. So one of the policy recommendations that came out of the Growing for Cane program and ordinance was this new tool of allowing for term easements. And so this would be an enhancement of the farmland protection program, whereby a food growing farm could have a temporary conservation easement placed on their farm. So the idea is that it gives a little bit more flexibility that you might not have with a permanent easement, and all of the the requirements and regulations that come with that through through USDA. And so we haven't applied this tool yet, but it is something that we have the ability to use. It's just something that we would need to secure funding that would be applicable to this activity. Looking at the types of operators that we work with and have supported. So we reach growers that are producing fresh produce, meats, dairy, just really a whole range of products. And again, we're working with growers that operate in all areas of the county, both rural and urban. So we have worked at various times with the Northern Illinois Food Bank. There was a recommendation for them to to help be a part of the solution. And they have been, one of the more current programs that they've been supporting is something called the Farm to Food Bank program. It kind of is designed to help farmers that are interested in donating their products. But it basically covers the costs associated with harvesting and shipping their product to a food pantry, an organization that can receive it. So they are doing important work to help make those connections. But for the most part, they're working with larger producers. So we would like to see them bringing more, hopefully Kane County growers into this program in the future. So that's something we'll continue to work with them on. One of the other important tools that's worth noting that was created with the Growing for Cane ordinance is the Growing for Cane Fund. So this is the fund within the county's financing system that allows us to apply for grants and manage those grants to support a variety of projects. And so typically those are training programs like the Urban Agriculture Innovative Production grant program that we're working on with U of I Extension. We've also administered mini grant programs that have supported on-farm infrastructure and other expenses. So the Growing for Cane Fund really allows us to use grants that we apply for that purpose. So since 2014, we have had a fair amount of success, I would say, in applying for grants, both directly as in the county being the applicant, as well as partner organizations that we have worked collaboratively with on grant applications. So between 2014 and 2023, the county has secured or helped secure over $1.1 million in funding. And so we do have, down at the end of the list, we do still have a couple of programs that are active and ongoing. So that includes the USDA Urban Ag Innovation Grant, the Soil Health Stewards and the Navigators Grant, as well as the Donnelly Foundation Grant. So we're continuing to coordinate these active programs, and we'll keep working on them as long as the grant terms are open. We have completed a number of projects through the Growing for Cane program. Again, as I mentioned, the Food Hub feasibility study was one of the earlier projects that we worked on. We've conducted some other reports, named more recently, the Kane County Livestock Market Assessment. But we've also worked on a mix of technical assistance programs, so providing training and resources to growers. More recently, that included the Regenerative Grazing Field Day, an event that was hosted up at the All Grass Farms at the Brunner Family Forest Preserve. And again, the mini grant program back in 2021. So we provided grants for around 27 growers across the county. We also recently updated the Growing for Cane webpage on the county's website. So this includes a listing of all of the active and completed projects that we've been working on with our partners. And it also includes a number of links to different resources that could be of benefit to farmers. So funding programs, organizations developed and supported by the Farm Bureau. So it's a good landing page just to get some quick information, and it's organized by category. We also have our Growing for Cane e-newsletter, which is our best tool for getting out current information, whether it's related to funding opportunities for farmers, new training programs, or just new tools or research to help them better connect with the marketplace and just have more profitable businesses. So this is where we can get a lot of recent and current information out pretty quickly. So currently we have about 700 subscribers to the newsletter, and we have an open rate of about 30%. So we feel like we're getting pretty good viewership of that publication. And then lastly, I just wanted to touch on a couple of our active projects. So as many of you know, the Urban Agriculture Innovative Production Grant Program is ongoing. This includes two components. So the main part of this program is the Master Urban Farmer Training Program. So we're working closely with U of I Extension to train. The first group was about 15 farmers, and they just completed their training earlier this month. And we're currently in talks to extend the program for a second cohort. So we just need to go through the process of extending the time frame that we can administer the grant fund through, which is currently set to end in September of 2025. But we're looking to carry that into the following year so we can do a second cohort. And then the second piece of this grant program is what we're calling the Equitable Local Food Access Projects. So in working with U of I Extension's SNAP Ed team, they have put together a package of about 6 proposals that go up and down the Fox River Valley to start new community garden projects run by nonprofit organizations and schools, as well as a pretty significant infrastructure project for one of the food pantries. And then the last project I wanted to touch on, the Food and Farm Resiliency Grant Program. So this is the grant program that we're working on currently, that we're administering, that is backed by the American Rescue Plan Act funding. So we had a set aside of $863,000 for this program, and that includes $755,000 that is going to be made as reimbursement grants to the approved farmers. So we started with a pool of about 29 applicants that we received through the program. So in reviewing those, we determined that 19 qualified as eligible recipients. And so they're going to be receiving over the course of the next 9 months or so, grants ranging between $11,000 and $50,000. So we really see this as a very, significant boost for those businesses. It's really going to help them make significant investments in their operations. And importantly, just give them a really, put them on a stronger footing coming out of the pandemic and just being able to deal with some of the challenges that they faced during that time. So we're going to look forward to continue to roll that out. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Sanchez?
Yeah, this might be a Mark question, but one of the reasons I actually ran for county board originally was that the county was working on a food hub concept. And it's, for those who don't know, it's generally it's a place where local farmers can bring in their produce. They can do things like packaging and labeling and offer that to places like a grocery store. One of the kind of infrastructure mechanisms you really want to have to get from farm to your home table via your local grocery store. So we did hand that over to a organization or a business that was supposed to take that forward. I know it kind of stalled out, and I'm not really sure the status of it. My question with that as the background, is there a way, if they're not really going to be able to continue working on and developing the food hub, that we can kind of take the thing back and find a different entity to establish that more fully?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's a lot that we've learned since then, and I think there's been also a lot of changes just in terms of how food has been grown and effectively distributed or aggregated. Looking around the country, I think that's a topic worth looking at with our consultant team, and look at what's happening, successful and nationally now, as well as continue to work with our local growers and find out, well, what are your needs? What is helpful to you? So it's definitely worth taking another look at and seeing what the current best practices are and seeing how we can help our local growers get things to market. I know a couple of things that we're aware of is some of our local growers are actually bypassing some of our local farmers markets and going further east because of costs and those kind of things. So we want to look at everything comprehensively to, help make it in everyone's best interest to have their food available to our urban population as much as possible.
Yeah, if there are better ways to get from A to Z, that's really the whole point, is just try to get some of the locally grown food into people's, meals. So whatever it takes, if Food Hub is kind of grown out of fashion or there's just better ways to do it, absolutely. But if that's still viable, I'm just curious if there's a way that we could re-engage with that. So thank you for that. And I'm glad you mentioned the ARPA program because I didn't see it on the other list. I'm like, hey man, the county board put some money out there for that, and luckily the board wanted to make sure that we did some support for local food. So I'm glad that that's successful so far.
Yeah, if I could piggyback on that, I want to thank you, Jarrett, for your leadership on the ARPA team. But also Suzanne Fonstock and her team and EY, our consultants, and then especially Matt Tansley and Ellen Kemps, because once we got to the point where we had the 863,000 allocated, we had a sprint like many other ARPA projects to the finish line to get these all under contract, and they put together this farmer grant program, did the outreach. We had a phenomenal participation, in terms of the number of applications. Went through the eligibility and got these contracts done. And I'm just, amazed at how everyone worked together to get this out there, and the impact of, $750,000 into our local food producers' hands is just a phenomenal accomplishment.
Yeah, it's a great team. Proud to work with them. So thank you.
Mr. Penisys?
Yeah, very excited about this and very proud to serve on the agricultural committee to expand this. Has there been outreach done? Do we have partners in the schools, the farm to school program specifically? I mean, that's going to benefit everybody, locally sourced food. If we could get that into the schools, it's going to benefit the farmers, it's going to benefit the environment, it's going to be cheaper, obviously more inexpensive for the schools as well. Is there outreach that's been done, and do we have partners at our local school districts?
So two, I don't have the names of the schools, but I know that two of the sub-projects within, I go back a slide. Within the equitable local food access projects, two of those are schools, and I can get some information about what they're proposing to do, but it's essentially, they're looking to develop community gardens for the benefit of their schools and their school families. I would note that Kane County did apply for a farm to school grant that it was awarded back in 2018. And so we were able to use that to launch the farm to school program at the Kane County Juvenile Justice Center. And so that program is still continuing, and it continues to provide fresh food for the students and support the cafeteria. And just as importantly, I would say too, that it provides education for those students to learn about, how food is grown and just the importance of, fresh food and the nutritional benefits associated with that. But we've certainly seen how effective schools can be as partners, and that's going to continue to be something we'll be looking at.
Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Gripe?
Thanks. I'm not on the committee, but I'm here to learn. And I'm curious, on the previous slide, sounds like a really great program, but I noticed that 108,000 for project management, which is about 12.5% of the total. I'm curious what that's for.
So that is for, so we are working with a consultant who is managing the project. So that included developing the application. It included generating a lot of the outreach materials for the program, and also just being the continuing point of contact for any farmer that has questions. So this is, this started back in the spring, maybe May or June. I forget exactly when the contract was executed. So in total, it's gonna be running over a year. It's gonna be over 12 months. And so I know it seems like a lot on paper, but I think for, what the county is getting, and just, the speed and smoothness within which we've been able to roll this out, we would not have been able to do that with the consulting support that we received. So.
Any other questions? So circling back, Carl, I think Matt is going to be your person to talk to about available grants and things that he can get you the information so that you can then bring it back. So if you guys could get together after and maybe exchange things so we can move that forward for you.
I appreciate that. And I know Matt has shared with us.
Okay, good. Good. Okay, great. Any other questions, comments? Great presentation. No? All right. So we're moving on to number 8, new business. Does anyone have any new business?
Not new business. I'll just add that we will post these 3 presentations with the agenda for today's meeting on the county's agenda website, but we'll also send it out via email to all the committee members. And Matt, if you could make note of the other board members not on the committee that are in attendance today, we'll get that sent out to you. And appreciate your interest and great questions.
Mr. Leonard?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Van Kerkhoff, could you also on future agendas put these presentations on so we can study those before the meeting so that we can ask, informed questions?
Yes, we can certainly do that.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Because you're like the only ones who don't do that. Just anything else?
Nope.
I just like to bring up one thing. It's not really new business, but it's old business. We had a discussion a while ago about LISA scores, and we found out that LISA is not what we think it is, and that we kind of wanted to maybe reevaluate, because a lot of prime farmland is not necessarily getting a high LISA score because it's not next to some historical marker. So if we could kind of have that conversation at some point in time and try to get it moving toward what actually would help us save farmland, as opposed to watch it all get gobbled up, that would be
Sure,
great.
that's a great and timely question. So the LISA scoring system used by the Kane DuPage Soil and Water Conservation District is a document that soil and water conservation districts around the state adapt and use. Each district has the ability to sort of adopt their own. So the one that they use for Kane County is very specific to Kane County. They did a great presentation this past year on the history and how it was formulated, and as an outcome of that meeting, they're looking to reconstitute a new committee to look at the current LISA scoring system and make recommendations for a new scoring system that will include working closely with members of the county board in this committee, as well as other professionals similar to what were part of the first committee, and then look at adapting a new updated scoring system for that. So that's upcoming. In fact, they were ready to start in December, and I said, well, we're just sitting a new committee, so let's maybe get that going in January. So that'll be coming up in the very near horizon.
Great, keep us posted. Okay, anybody else?
I have a
Madam
suggestion.
Chair,
Is that Mrs. Bates? Is that Miss Bates?
Bates,
Um,
please.
yes.
Could I have a copy of the slides as well?
Yeah.
No.
Add me to the list?
No, I didn't know you cannot have them. Sorry.
Pretty please? If I say
Okay,
pretty
maybe.
please?
Yeah, we'll make sure that happens.
We'll
Should
make
we
sure.
just send to everybody on the board?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, we'll just send to everybody on the, I'm like looking at there like she's up there. I don't know where she is. Yes, Mavis, we'll send to everybody for you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm in the sky.
Well, I'm not in the right place, so you probably noticed that.
Kettle Camp. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a suggestion on the historical marker. It could be maybe we could weave that in as a historical marker. Would be I'm thinking of the state program. The Werdine Family Farm is celebrating over 150 years of family farm ownership. We just applied to get our sign updated and renewed. And maybe that's something that we could think of to look at some of these farms that have that recognition of whether it be a centennial or a sesquicentennial. I do have, I'm very proud that my family in Nokomis, Illinois is over 175 years of farm family ownership. But yeah, just maybe something that we, not necessarily a historical marker, but maybe something we could kind of use to our advantage there.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, anything else? Okay, can I have a motion to place reports on file?
Roth would request we make a unanimous approval for put the reports on file.
Any objectors? Okay, no need for executive session. Okay, I will entertain a motion for adjournment. Oh, we went over. I'm so sorry.
Roth will make a motion for adjournment.
2 seconds.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.